Back in 1980, more than 70% of adults in America believed that brutal satanic cults really existed. The remaining 30% were still skeptical because there was never any clear evidence proving those cults were real. But according to this story, the evidence was intentionally covered up by the government. What happened here was said to be a real event that could not be explained by logic. In 1980s America, a college student named Samantha Hughes was forced to move out of her dorm because of her roommate, Heather, who constantly brought men into their room. Luckily, the landlady waived the deposit fee and only asked Samantha to pay the first month's rent. The problem was that the payment was due by next Monday, only 5 days away, and Samantha would not even be able to move in until the following weekend. As a student living far from home, Samantha was already struggling financially. Desperate for money, she called a babysitting job advertisement that had been posted on the dorm bulletin board. But instead of reaching a person directly, the call went to voicemail, so Samantha simply left her contact number. Just moments after hanging up, the public phone suddenly rang. A man named Vincent, the one behind the babysitting job, told Samantha that she could meet him in front of the dorm bulletin board. The strange part was that Vincent never said when he would arrive, and even stranger, how was he able to call back the exact public phone she had just used? Samantha waited near the bulletin board for hours, but Vincent never showed up. Even though she desperately needed the job, she eventually gave up and vented to her best friend Megan about the whole situation. Megan offered to ask her father for some extra money if Samantha needed help. Megan also suggested taking down all the babysitting ads around campus so nobody else could apply, just to get back at Vincent for wasting Samantha's time and giving her false hope. But Samantha refused because she did not want to cause any trouble. When Samantha returned to the dorm, the room was a complete mess after Heather spent the night fooling around with another guy. Heather was now snoring loudly, while Samantha lay awake thinking about her rent payment. Overwhelmed with stress, she eventually broke down crying alone in the dorm bathroom. Not long after returning to the room, Heather told Samantha that a man had called looking for her. It turned out to be Vincent. Samantha immediately called him back, and Vincent apologized for not showing up earlier, explaining that some woman had caused a scene with him. Vincent then asked Samantha to come to the job that very night. Since he urgently needed her help, he even promised to double the payment to $100 right away. Samantha obviously accepted the offer and headed to the address with Megan accompanying her. During the drive, Megan talked about the news on the radio regarding the total lunar eclipse happening that night. Apparently, a lot of people were excited to witness it. Megan also admitted that after hearing Samantha complain earlier, she had gone around campus and taken down all the babysitting ads herself, which meant the angry woman Vincent mentioned earlier was most likely Megan. Since Megan was bored that night anyway, Samantha allowed her to tag along during the job. But if Vincent still seemed upset about what happened, then Megan would have to leave. After driving through isolated forest roads and passing an old cemetery, they finally arrived at Vincent's house. The place looked old and unsettling, with a red Volvo parked outside. This was the house of the devil. Samantha was greeted directly by Vincent himself, a tall, older man with a strange presence. Vincent explained that he and his wife had just returned from out of town after watching the lunar eclipse from a place where it could be seen more clearly. Even so, he casually mentioned that he was not an astronomer. A little later, Vincent asked to speak with Samantha privately. He apologized because the job was not actually babysitting. Instead, it involved looking after his mother-in-law, a woman everyone simply called Mother. Vincent also mentioned that his own children were already grown up. At first, Samantha assumed she would be caring for a sick elderly woman, but Vincent clarified that Mother was perfectly healthy. Samantha only needed to keep an eye on her for a few hours, which he claimed was even easier than babysitting. Knowing how badly Samantha needed the money, Vincent kept increasing the payment until they finally agreed on $400 for just 4 hours of work. That amount alone would be enough for Samantha to pay the rent on her new place. Megan tried to stop Samantha from taking the job because Vincent's behavior felt suspicious, and the amount of money he offered simply did not make sense. But Samantha had already made up her mind. She told Megan to come back and pick her up around 12:30 in the morning. While Samantha stayed inside the house, Megan waited near the cemetery, not far from the property, smoking a clove cigarette. Her lighter suddenly stopped working, and out of nowhere, a man named Victor approached and offered her a light. But the situation quickly turned horrifying when Victor realized Megan was not the actual girl who applied for the babysitting job.
Are you not the babysitter?
No, I'm not the babysitter. My friend.
Back inside the house, Vincent handed Samantha $200 up front, along with a little extra money for food. He told her there was a pizza number near the refrigerator, and since Mother was already asleep, Samantha could relax on the couch and help herself to anything she needed. Vincent explained that the house was large enough that she might not even run into Mother at all. Still, he warned Samantha to stay alert in case something happened. Before heading upstairs to meet his wife Vivian, Vincent also gave Samantha an emergency phone number in case anything important came up, along with the address of the hotel where he and Vivian would be staying for the night. But just before leaving, Samantha overheard Vincent saying something very strange to his wife. He mentioned that this time there would not be any mistakes like before, and after tonight, everything would finally be complete again. He also described Samantha as being perfect for whatever they had planned. A few moments later, Vivian suddenly appeared from a room right in front of Samantha and greeted her. Samantha became confused almost immediately. Vincent had just gone upstairs claiming he was meeting Vivian. But if Vivian was downstairs the whole time, then who exactly was upstairs? Vivian casually explained that she had just come back from the basement after grabbing her fur coat because she grew up in a desert climate and could not handle the cold very well. Not long after that, Vincent came downstairs, and the two of them left together in the red Volvo, leaving Samantha alone in the massive house with Mother, whose face she still had not even seen yet. After they were gone, Samantha repeatedly tried calling Megan, but none of the calls were answered. Thinking her friend was still upset, Samantha eventually left an apologetic voicemail, completely unaware that Megan had already been murdered in the cemetery nearby. Samantha eventually ordered pizza using the number Vincent had left for her, and the delivery was expected to arrive in about 30 minutes. With nothing else to do, she began wandering around the massive house. She moved from the kitchen to the living room, explored the billiard room, casually pressed a few keys on the piano, sat inside a large study, and eventually reached a huge white room upstairs that overlooked the front of the house. Later on, Samantha watched a news report about the total lunar eclipse. According to the broadcast, the moon would be completely covered by Earth's shadow exactly at midnight. Bored and trying to pass the time, Samantha listened to music on her Walkman while playing billiards and continuing to roam through the house. But at one point, she accidentally knocked over a flower vase and shattered it on the floor. While cleaning up the broken pieces, Samantha noticed something strange. Vivian's wardrobe was actually located upstairs, even though Vivian had previously claimed she went down to the basement to get her fur coat. Not long after that, Samantha found a family photograph inside the house. But the people in the picture were not Vincent and Vivian. The discovery immediately made her uneasy. Then things became even stranger when Samantha stepped outside and noticed a brown van parked nearby. Moments later, she spotted a mysterious man standing behind the vehicle, silently watching the house. After seeing the photograph in the van, Samantha started becoming seriously suspicious. She tried calling Megan again, but of course there was still no answer. Feeling increasingly paranoid, Samantha even brought a knife with her while going to the bathroom, just in case something happened. Then suddenly she heard a loud noise coming from upstairs. Slowly and nervously, Samantha made her way toward the room where the sound came from. She stood in front of the door but could not bring herself to open it. The film then reveals what was actually inside the room, and scattered across the floor were several dead bodies. At that exact moment, the ringing telephone startled Samantha. Those bodies were most likely the same family from the photograph she found earlier, and it strongly suggested they had been ritualistically murdered by Vincent's family. But Samantha herself never opened the door, so she still had no idea what was truly hidden inside that room. A little later, Samantha grabbed the pizza delivery from outside, only to realize that the delivery man was Victor. He kept staring around the property while the total lunar eclipse slowly approached. Growing more terrified by the minute, Samantha decided to call the emergency number Vincent had given her earlier. But when she dialed it, the number was suddenly disconnected and no longer existed. Then almost immediately after hanging up, the phone rang. A woman on the other end claimed Samantha had called her moments ago, but she had not answered in time, which made absolutely no sense because the number Samantha dialed was supposedly not even registered anymore. Samantha simply told the woman over the phone that everything was fine. After hanging up, she tried calming herself down in the living room while eating the pizza she had ordered earlier. But the pizza tasted awful, so she quickly threw it away. Still feeling uneasy, Samantha returned upstairs to check on Mother's room once again, but she still could not bring herself to open the door because she assumed Mother was resting inside. Instead, she wandered through the other rooms upstairs until she eventually entered one of the bathrooms. Inside, she discovered large clumps of hair scattered everywhere. At that point, Samantha became completely convinced that something was seriously wrong with Vincent's family. Not long after, she found a small door leading up to the attic. The moment she climbed upstairs and reached for the light switch, the total lunar eclipse finally began, and suddenly the power throughout the entire house went out. Then in the darkness, Samantha noticed the hand of someone slowly opening the attic door from the inside. Terrified beyond control, Samantha collapsed and lost consciousness. When she finally woke up, she found herself lying in the middle of a satanic ritual circle surrounded by candles. Her hands and feet were tightly bound, and cloth had been tied around her mouth. Panic instantly took over as she struggled helplessly. Moments later, Vincent, Vivian, Victor, and Mother entered the room. It was finally revealed that Victor was actually the son of Vincent and Vivian. And as for Mother, her appearance was far more horrifying than Samantha could have ever imagined. The ritual immediately began. Then Mother dripped blood from her own hand into the skull and smeared it onto Samantha's forehead. It became clear that Mother was not human at all, but some kind of demonic entity that required human sacrifices. Vincent, Vivian, and Victor were nothing more than devoted followers carrying out the ritual for her. Even after Victor shot Samantha in the lower left side of her body, she somehow managed to fight back. Samantha stabbed Vincent with a knife, slit Victor's throat, and escaped from the ritual room. While trying to flee the house, Samantha also discovered Megan's corpse, her face completely destroyed from the gunshot wound. At the same time, Samantha began feeling a terrible pain in her stomach, and no matter where she looked, the horrifying image of Mother kept appearing in her mind. Vivian was eventually killed as well. After taking Victor's gun, Samantha finally managed to contact the police. But even then, she could not stop seeing visions of Mother haunting her thoughts. Samantha kept running until she reached the cemetery outside, while Vincent continued chasing her despite the stab wound in his stomach. Vincent insisted that Mother had chosen Samantha and that the ritual was already complete. According to him, there was no escaping her fate anymore. At first, Samantha intended to shoot Vincent, but after realizing something inside her body no longer felt normal, she slowly turned the gun toward herself instead. Then a gunshot rang out.
No.
The next morning, television reports revealed that many astronomers were confused by how unusually fast the total lunar eclipse had ended. Throughout history, lunar eclipses have often been linked to myths involving demons, creatures believed to consume the moon or disturb the balance of nature itself. Meanwhile, Samantha somehow survived and was now recovering in a hospital, which made absolutely no sense, considering she had clearly shot herself in the head the night before. But the most disturbing part came when a nurse calmly informed her that both she and the baby inside her were completely healthy. So even though Samantha managed to escape that cursed house alive, the ritual had still succeeded, and now she was carrying a demon child. So the moral of the story is never accept a babysitting job from a guy who lives next to a cemetery and pays enough money to unlock all your financial problems in one night.